Hello, thank you for joining me. We are in chapter 4, the ego's struggle to preserve itself. We are on day 72, I believe, which is section 6, this need not be. That's correct. We are reading with the Course Companions in a Course in Miracles complete and annotated edition. And if you will please close your eyes and join me for a short prayer. Dear God, please enable me to set aside everything I think I know about A Course in Miracles, about my ideas of and around you, about my ideas of and around other people, and of course myself, God. God, please give me your vision today. God, please allow me to have an open mind and a new experience with my reading, with you, with others, and with myself today, God. I love you. Thank you. Amen. All right, so section 6, this need not be. If you cannot hear the voice of God, it is because you do not choose to listen. The fact that you do listen to the voice of your ego is demonstrated by your attitudes, your feelings, and your behavior. That's it right there. Your attitudes are obviously conflicted. Your feelings have a narrow range of variation on the negative side, but are never purely joyous, and your behavior is either strained or unpredictable. Yet this is what you want. This is what you are fighting to keep and what you are vigilant to save. Your mind is filled with schemes to save the face of your ego, and you do not seek the face of God. The glass in which the ego seeks to see its face is dark indeed. 67. 1 Corinthians 13:12. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know, even as also I am known. The phrase see through a glass darkly is a reference to looking into an ancient mirror, which being made of polished metal was likely to tarnish or dim. How can it maintain the trick of its existence except with mirrors? But where you look to find yourself is up to you. We have said that you cannot change your mind by changing your behavior. But we have also said, and many times before, that you can change your mind. 68. Text chapter 2, section 9. You must change your mind, but not your behavior, and this is a matter of will. Correction belongs only at the level where causation is possible. The term does not really mean anything at the symptom level where it cannot work. When your mood tells you that you have willed wrongly, and this is so whenever you are not joyous, then know this need not be. In every case, you have thought wrongly about some brother that God created, and are perceiving images your ego makes in a darkened glass. Think honestly what you have thought that God would not have thought, and what you have not thought that God would have you think. Search sincerely for what you have done and left undone accordingly, and then change your mind to think with God's. This may seem hard to you, but it is much easier than trying to think against it. Your mind is one with God's. Denying this and thinking otherwise has held your ego together, but has literally split your mind. As a loving brother, I am deeply concerned with your mind and urge you to follow my example as you look at yourself and at your brother, and see in both the glorious creations of a glorious Father. When you are sad, know that this need not be. Depression is of the ego, and you are hiding little spots of hatred that are hurting you. Depression always arises ultimately from a sense of being deprived of something you want and do not have. Know you are deprived of nothing except by your own decisions, and then decide otherwise. When you are anxious, know that all anxiety comes from the capriciousness of the ego and need not be. Capriciousness. I don't know. You know how to say it. Anxiety appears to come, here we go, from the precociousness of external events, from their unpredictability. But it really comes from the unpredictability of our own ego. We are anxious because we do not know what destructive thing our ego will do next. You can be as vigilant against the ego's dictates as for them. When you feel guilty, know that your ego has indeed violated the laws of God. But you have not. Leave sins of the ego to me. That is what the atonement is for. But until you change your mind about those your ego has hurt, the atonement cannot release you. As long as you feel guilty, your ego is in command, because only the ego can experience guilt. This need not be. Be honest in trying to see whom your ego has hurt, and also in trying to change your mind about them. I am not unmindful of your efforts in this direction, but you still have much too much energy invested in your ego. This need not be. Watch your mind for the temptations of the ego and do not be deceived by it. Know it offers you nothing. Those with the habit of disengagement often do not make consistent efforts to change their minds except through applying their old habit pattern to these new ideas. Footnote 70. This seems to mean that if one uses disengagement as a way to buffer oneself from life, that person will tend to apply that same habit pattern to the Course's new ideas. Those ideas, in other words, will just become a new tool for disengagement, a new method of buffering. Even then, however, they can learn that the mind gains control over itself when they direct it genuinely toward perceiving someone else truly. Their lack of vitality is due to their efforts at solving their needless depression and anxiety through disinterest. Because their egos were protected by this unfortunate negative attitude, they are afraid to abandon it. When they exert real efforts to give up this voluntarily dispiriting, they will see how their minds can focus and rise above fatigue and heal. But they are not sufficiently vigilant against their ego's demand to disengage themselves. This need not be. The new habit of engaging with God and His creations is easily made if you actively refuse to let your mind slip away. Your problem is not concentration. It is a belief that nobody, including yourself, is worth constant effort. Side with me consistently against this deception. Do not permit this shabby belief to pull you back. The disheartened are useless to themselves and to me, but only the ego can be disheartened. Have you really considered how many opportunities you have to gladden yourself and how many of them you have refused? There is no limit to the power of a Son of God, but He Himself can limit the expression of His power as much as He wills. Your mind and mine can unite in shining your ego away and releasing the strength and beauty of God into everything you think and will and do. Do not settle for anything less than this, and refuse to accept anything but this as your goal. Watch your mind carefully for any beliefs that hinder its accomplishment, and step away from them. Judge how well you have done this by your own feelings, for this is the one right use of judgment. Judgment, like any other defense, can be used to attack or protect, to hurt or to heal. The ego should be brought to your own judgment and be found wanting there. Without your own allegiance, protection, and love, it cannot exist. Judge your ego truly, and you must withdraw allegiance, protection, and love from it. You are a mirror of truth in which God Himself shines in perfect clarity. To the ego's dark glass, you need but say, I will not look there because I know these images are not true. Then let the Holy One shine upon you in peace, knowing that this and only this must be. 71, number 6, 25 to 26. The Lord make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. The reference in this verse to the Lord making His face shine upon you is apropos, as the course passage here, with its reference to the ego's dark glass, harkens back to this section's opening paragraph, which speaks of not looking in the ego's dark glass to see its face, but instead seeking the face of God. His mind shone on you in your creation and brought your mind into being. His mind still shines on you and must shine through you. Your ego cannot prevent Him from shining upon you, but it can prevent you from letting Him shine through you. The first coming of Christ is just another name for the creation, because Christ is the Son of God. The second coming of Christ means nothing more than the end of the ego's rule over part of the minds of men and the healing of the mind. I was created like you in the first, and I am reminding you that I have called you to join me in the second. 72. Text 126. Having been restored to this original state, you naturally become part of the atonement yourself. You now share my inability to tolerate lack of love in yourself and in everyone else, and must join the great crusade to correct it. Text chapter 134. The forgiven are the means of the atonement. Those released by Christ must join Him in releasing their brothers, for this is the plan of the atonement. Text chapter 135. I am the only one who can perform miracles indiscriminately because I am the atonement. You have a role in the atonement which I will dictate to you. If you will think over your life, you will see how carefully the preparations were made. I am in charge of the second coming, as I already told you, and my judgment, which is used only for its protection, cannot be wrong because it never attacks. 73. Text chapter 124. I am in charge of the process of atonement which I undertook to begin. Its protection refers to the second coming's protection. Yours is so distorted that you believe that I was mistaken in choosing you. I assure you this is a mistake of your own ego. Do not mistake it for humility. Your ego is trying to convince you that it is real and I am not, because if I am real, I am no more real than you are. That knowledge, and I assure you that it is knowledge, means that Christ has come into your mind and healed it. I am not attacking your ego, but I am working with your higher mind, whether you sleep or wake, just as your ego does with your lower mind. I am your vigilance in this because you are too confused to recognize your own hope. I was not mistaken. Your mind will elect to join with mine, and together we are invincible. You and your brother will yet come together in my name. 74. Matthew 18:20. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. And your sanity will be restored. I raised the dead by knowing that life is an eternal attribute of everything the living God created. Why do you believe that it is harder for me to inspire the dispirited or to stabilize the unstable? I do not believe that there is an order in difficulty in miracles. You do. I have called you and you will answer. I know that miracles are natural because they are expressions of love. My calling you is as natural as your answer and as inevitable. Day 72, Section 6. This need not be. Whenever I experience any negative emotion, I can know that this need not be. Rather than trying to solve these emotions through disengaging and checking out, I need an active approach in which I watch my mind for them, honestly face their causes, and then change my mind to think with God. This will allow me to engage with God and my brothers. Reflection. This section states that your mood will tell you when you have willed wrongly and allowed the ego's dark glass to cloud your perception. It's typical to find yourself so deeply in your moods that you neglect to really analyze what caused them. However, here you are being asked to do exactly that. You are being asked to watch your mind carefully for any beliefs that induce negative emotion and simply step away from them. If you can judge how well you have done this by your own feelings, how well would you say you are doing this today? Excerpts. If you cannot hear the voice of God, it is because you do not choose to listen. The fact that you do listen to the voice of your ego is demonstrated by your attitudes, your feelings, and your behavior. Think honestly what you have thought that God would not have thought, and what you have not thought that God would have you think. Search sincerely for what you have done and left undone accordingly, and then change your mind to think with God's. Your mind is one with God's. And that, oh no, here we go. Getting ahead of myself. When you are sad, depressed, angry, agitated, know that this need not be. Depression is of the ego, and you are hiding little spots of hatred that are there hurting you. Depression always arises ultimately from a sense of being deprived of something you want and do not have. Ha ha. Know you are deprived of nothing except your own decisions, and then decide otherwise. And I can just so relate to this. My husband works nights, and I just use that as an excuse to because I don't want him to, and I just hold on to that. It's that depression and that insanity. Be honest in trying to see whom your ego has hurt, and also in trying to change your mind about them. Your mind and mine can unite in shining your ego away and releasing the strength and beauty of God into everything you think and will and do. Do not settle for anything less than this, and refuse to accept anything but this as your goal. You are a mirror of truth in which God Himself shines in perfect clarity. So go on and shine today. Have a beautiful day. Thank you for joining with me on day 72 of A Course in Miracles Course Companions group. I love you. Thank you.